Welcome to the Morristown Unitarian Fellowship, a multi-generational community that is spiritually alive, justice-centered, and radically inclusive. We are so glad that you are here with us, whether it's Sunday morning or you are joining in this broadcast later in the day or in the week. Remember, you can access all of our worships going back to March very easily on our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/c/Morristown Unitarian Fellowship, and then click videos to see all of the worships. Today's service is about honoring the winter solstice and the wisdom it contains for our lives this year. In addition to the service this morning at 9 on Facebook and 11 on YouTube, we will be hosting socially distanced solstice rituals on our property between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. The rituals are designed for one at a time. There are at least 3 stations. Walk through the lighted solstice spiral. Cast your intentions for the new year into the fire. Have your candle lighting video clip recorded for our Christmas Eve candle lighting services, and pick up a sweet treat to take home with you. While we couldn't be inside together, it will look festive outside. If you'd like to come while there is still some daylight, then stop by for a bit between 4 and 5 p.m. If you'd like it to be dark, then stop by for a bit between 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. It will be a time to merry meet and merry part until we can see one another again. Happy solstice.
Good morning and welcome to our community. We'll open our service today by lighting a flaming chalice, symbol of our faith. We invite you to do the same at your home. Our reading this morning is number 541 from the Gray Songbook by Denise Levertov, Winter. The bare trees have made up their seed bundles. They are ready now. The warm brown light pauses briefly, shrugs, and moves on. They are ready now to play dead for a while. I, human, have not as yet devised how to obtain such privilege. Their spring will find them rested. I and my kind battle a wakeful way to ours. Blessed be.
Hi everyone, my name is Iraj Mohbelian. As you know, tomorrow is the first day of winter. And this day always brings me back to one of my childhood memories that I would like to share with you. Growing up in Iran, my family celebrated this day, the longest night of the year. It is called Shab-e Yalda, which means rebirth of the sun. This is a ritual that has been practiced for hundreds of years in Iran. It's traced to the primal concept of light and good against darkness and evil in ancient Iranian religion. On those nights, my grandmother, great-grandmother, mom, dad, and 7 brothers and sisters, Jamshid, Tayyibeh, Iraj, me, Homa, Sima, and the twins, Hadi and Mehdi, gathered to celebrate. We, the entire family, stayed awake till late hours to celebrate the change of season. On those nights, we ate pomegranate, watermelon, grapes, pistachio, apple, walnuts, and talked till late hours. On those days, their fruit and vegetables were only available in season. So at the end of the summer, my mom would stash fruit in our dark basement for use for these nights. She would hang grapes covered with cloth from the ceiling in the basement. On a pile of hay on a corner, she would stash watermelon, pomegranate, honeydew, and more. On those nights, my oldest sister Tayyibeh used the book of Hafiz to tell the fortune of all the kids. My grandparents told stories. My dad recited from the book of King Shahnameh, written in 10th century. As a child sitting next to them, I remember looking outside. The darkness was overwhelming. Son, starting from tomorrow, every day we will have more light, my dad would say. It was such a treat to go to bed late on those long, dark nights. And me and my family still celebrate these nights. So don't forget to celebrate the longest night of the year this Monday, December 21st. Shab Yaldatun Mubarak. Have a wonderful Yalda night.
Find a stillness, hold a stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony.
A reading entitled Winter Weavings. On the loom of the universe, the Great Mother weaves the web that connects all creation.
Down the long centuries she lays the warp, spinning out of herself each filament.
Out of human joy and grief, the fiber.
Out of primal fear and hope, the foundation.
Across a warp of sky and earth, she throws her shuttle, weaving and interweaving dark strand with light.
Forming her web from songs and stories of my people, echoing across oceans and continents.
From words and ways burned into my blood and bone.
Each new thread, spun of common wool, lends color and shape to the pattern.
Across the warp of our humanity, the weaving is forever forming and transforming.
The fabric stretching back into history, the filaments venturing forth into eternity.
And her work is the work of our own hands and hearts.
And her fabric is the fabric of our own lives and loves.
For on the loom of the Great Mother, we are both the weaver and the web.
The Shortest Day by Susan Cooper. Father Sun stands tall each day, bearing on his shoulders his fiery disk. The days grow dim at the end of the year. He lumbers along, tired of his yearly charge. The people gather, kindling for the fires to warm their homes and light their way. Father Sun needs to rest. So, the shortest day came, and the year died. And everywhere down the centuries of the snow-white world came, people singing, dancing, to drive the dark away. They lighted candles in the winter trees. They hung their homes with evergreen. They burned beseeching fires all night long to keep the year alive. And when the New Year's sunshine blazed awake, they shouted, reveling. Through all the frosty ages, you can hear them echoing behind us. Listen. All the long echoes sing the same delight on this shortest day, as promise wakens in the sleeping land. They carol, feast, give thanks, and dearly love their friends, and hope for peace. And so do we. Here, now, this year, and every year. Welcome Yule. The end.
Step 1. Trace a circle onto a cardboard. Step 2. Cut it out into a circle. Step 3. Color it into a dark black. Doesn't have to be a marker, doesn't have to be a pencil. It can be anything you want. Step 4. Glue your rocks onto the circle. Step 5. Glue sticks onto the rocks in a triangle. Step 6. Use little scraps of tissue paper for flames. There you go. Now you have a solstice bonfire. A battery-operated tea light could illuminate it.
I invite you to enter into a spirit of prayerful reflection. On this occasion, we are witnesses once again of the eternal dance between the darkness and the light. For us, the winter season is the time when the days grow shorter and the nights longer. It has always been so. We tell the stories that connect our lives to this cosmic turning. We find metaphors in the seasons for meaning making in our own journeys. If we can be fully present to the interchange between the darkness and the light in the season of solstice, then there is, we hope, the opportunity to be fully present in the seasons of darkness and light in our own lives. Some of us carry the burden of memory for lives lost to us. In this particular season marked by pandemic, the magnitude of the loss can feel staggering. We extinguish this light, acknowledging our grief. We trust that the light will be reborn. In the midst of uncertainty and ambiguity, some of us are feeling weary. We may long for a time to be together again in the same space and to rekindle the hope of that community. We extinguish this light, holding the truth of that weariness. We trust that the light will be reborn. Even as we may struggle on this path, the fullness of life goes on. The rites of passage continue even as the world spins. And some of us may find it difficult to know how to celebrate joy in this context. But these joys, too, are a part of us. So we extinguish this light, holding the complexity of joy intermingled with sorrow. We trust that the light will be reborn. We have witnessed this story before. Though the earth may now lie frozen and the ground be hard, we know warmth will come again. Life will continue as it always has. As a community of faith, we know it is so, and we proclaim it as sacred. We extinguish this light in the spirit of mystery, awe, and wonder for being once more a part of the great turning. We trust that the light will be reborn. May we be present, truly present. May we continue to find meaning in the dance of darkness and light. May we bear witness, and most of all, may we know the light will be reborn.
Light the fire and beat the drum. Keep the vigil, greet the sun. Keep the Yule log, let its blaze illuminate our winter night. Bring in the evergreens, hang the holly boughs, and celebrate the ancient rites. Share a bowl of wassail brew, Druid's magic mistletoe.
Round the circle, pass the cup of wassail brew. Embrace beneath the mistletoe, the Druid's sacred mistletoe. Round the circle, pass the cup of wassail brew. Embrace beneath the Druid's sacred mistletoe. Then troll the Yuletide carol and prepare the feast. And let's find winter's fire, winter's snow.
Keep the vigil, greet the sun, light the fire and beat the drum. Keep the watch on solstice night, hope returns at morning light. Keep the watch together on solstice night, awake and face the birth of lengthening days and bringing hopes, justice, peace on earth.
The winter solstice is tomorrow morning, December 21st at 5:02 a.m. In the Northern Hemisphere where we live, it is the shortest day and the longest night of the year. In the Southern Hemisphere, it will be the opposite, the longest day and the shortest night of the year. Scientific advances have allowed us to learn why this happens. As the Earth orbits the Sun, it is tilted on its axis by 23.5 degrees. It is this tilt that causes our seasons, winter, summer, spring, and fall. At the winter solstice in the Northern Hemisphere, this tilt and the Earth's position is leaning further away than at any other point in the year. In more ancient times, people didn't know about these astrological events, yet they experienced them all the same, through the cycles of the seasons and the waning light of the sun at this time of year. Imagine what it was like for them. They had no electricity to keep their houses lit up, to the extent that we do, and no central heating system to warm their home. We may think we have it better now, and in some ways we do. However, I wonder what we have lost by being able to live so out of harmony with the seasons. There was wisdom that they had that many of us are only recently reconnecting with and reclaiming thanks to the generosity of Indigenous elders. Our ancestors held a closer relationship with the land and water, the earth and our sky. People understood well that they were alive because of the warmth and light of the sun and its ability to help all the plants to grow and flourish, such as the trees we use to build our homes, the plants which we harvested for foods for ourselves, and any herds or flocks that were ours, like sheep which would have allowed us to make warm blankets and clothes, or the cattle which would have provided milk and cheese and meat. The sun was such a powerful source of life that many considered it a god or a goddess. Some people used the language of Mother Earth and Father God. Their relationship was deeply intertwined, and Father God was also thought of as Mother Earth's son. This is easier to understand if we reflect on the cycles of life. Imagine a sunflower as a mother whose seeds are her sons. And when those seeds are planted, they become like the father to the next generation of seeds. Our connection to the cycles of the sun and the moon and the land ran deep in our ancestors' daily experiences, in their stories, and in their religion. It is very likely that the winter solstice and the summer solstice, the longest day and shortest night, were the two most important festivals of the year. Archaeological evidence throughout the world points towards this truth. One example comes from the British Isles, Stonehenge. Stonehenge is a ring of standing stones that were placed in such a way as to frame the sunset of the winter solstice. Celebrations occurred in this spot year after year, and likely long before the first stone was placed around 3000 BC. It was a natural time for celebration. There were not enough supplies to keep the herds alive, and so they would kill the animals and have a huge feast. Then they would take lengths to preserve what they could. It was also a time of fear and great uncertainty. When would the sun return to its full strength? Would it return, they wondered. Many of the festivals included religious rituals to appeal to gods or goddesses and to lure the light back. Many of the customs included firelight as a way to draw the sun back to the earth. In ancient Rome, people gave each other candles as gifts. In Scandinavia, the sun disappeared for 35 days. Scouts traveled to mountaintops looking for the sun. And as they saw the first glimmer, they returned, and Yuletide began, including the famous burning of the Yule log. In Peru, people fasted for 3 days. On the 4th day, everyone gathered in the public square and waited for the dawn to come. When the sun appeared, they focused the rays with a mirror to make a fire that was carried to all the temples and kept burning on the altars throughout the whole year. The sun seemed to participate in the cycles of life, birth, growth, and death. And there was a palpable sense that human beings could participate in these processes and help to bring about the changes that sustain and nourish life. Originally, New Year's and the event of Christmas wasn't held near the winter solstice. The new year was first observed 4,000 years ago in ancient Babylon, and it began with the first new moon after the spring equinox. This was another important season of rebirth, connected to the land this time, especially for this agricultural people. It was a time of planting crops and blossoming. Even the most wild of our New Year's Eve revelers today could never compare with their celebration. It lasted 11 days. The date of this celebration continued to shift until Julius Caesar in 46 BC finalized the calendar, starting with January 1st. New Year's celebrations in the spring and now moved to winter were very explicit about the connection to the cycles of life, of death, and birth. Around 600 BC, the Greeks celebrated the new year alongside their god of wine, Dionysus, by parading a baby in a basket, representing the annual rebirth of that god as the spirit of fertility. We heard a brief testimonial earlier today from member Iraj about Shab-e-Yalda in Iran, which has been celebrated for 5,000 years. The holiday is connected with the beginning of winter and the birth of Mithra, a sun god, and light and goodness triumphing over darkness and evil. The ancient Egyptians also celebrated solstice and the new year by depicting the newborn sun as an infant Horus, whose mother was the great goddess Isis, called the Heavenly Virgin. Sound familiar? All of these practices, legends, and myths instruct us that for thousands of years, people have trusted in the ability of human activity to bring about transformation on earth. We need to rekindle that understanding that human beings can help bring about changes that lead to renewal of life, not destruction of it, and the accompanying commitments that living in an age of fear and uncertainty as we are, this year facing a pandemic and increasing climate chaos. We need to center our sixth source of wisdom in Unitarian Universalism. Spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. The earth is our mother. The land is her body. It is the time for the land to sleep under a snow-covered blanket. It is the time for the patterns of rest and darkness that lead to growth and birth. It is the time to celebrate the fruits of winter, to dance around an evergreen by candlelight. May we view this season as filled with life in its own way and embrace the gifts it offers. The earth is our mother. The air is her breath. In a year where so many are struggling to breathe, can we take the time to appreciate the role of breath and air, the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between plants and people that gives rise to life? May we commit to the lungs of our planet as we also make efforts to protect the lungs of our siblings in the human family by taking the vaccine as soon as it is offered to us. The earth is our mother. The fire is her spirit. Fire was found in the hearth that warmed our ancestors and allowed them to survive the coldest winters. Yet, fires have raged across California and Washington and Australia. Fire can give life and take it away. May we commit to reducing our carbon footprint and conserving wildlife habitat. These two actions will lessen future wildfires and improve the immune systems of many animal species who are frequently the source of pandemics. The earth is our mother. The water is her blood. Water quenches fire and nourishes all life, from the grasses to the two-legged, four-legged, six-legged, eight-legged, and no-legged creatures. Water makes up 80% of the human body and 70% of the Earth's surface. It makes up most of life. Water is the womb of life. May we commit to the human right to drinking water that is clean and resist the commodifying of this natural resource and the spoiling of it from over-reliance on fossil fuel and other pollutants. The earth is our mother. We must take care of her. We are like her, made of stardust. The night sky is when we shine. May the long nights surrounding the solstice remind us of our purpose, to tend the web of life, to remember that we are a strand in it and not separate from it. The earth is our body. The water is our blood. The air is our breath, and fire is our spirit too. From time immemorial, she has given rise to us, and we have given rise to her again. This is our birthright. This is our ancient and modern call. It is what we most long for and what we will return to again and again. In the middle of the cold and the dark, we hear it, see it, feel it, that we are light longing for light, life longing for life, and love longing for love. So may it be. And may you be blessed and be a blessing to Mother Earth.
Thanks for joining us today for our winter solstice service. Now we're about to sing our closing song, and usually you'd see my face in a little box by the side of your screen and you'd hear my voice. But today you won't hear my voice or see my face in the screen. Today, I'm going to invite you to be the lead singer at home. So grab your hairbrush microphone, get down and dance in body and or in spirit, and rock out as we sing in the light with Deck the Halls. Happy solstice, everyone.
Winter sun, how valuable it is in these short days, threading through empty maple branches, the lacy, needled sugar pines. Its glint off sheets of ice tells the story of death's brightness, her bitter cold. The way we stand there, soaking in it, mittened fingers reaching, and how carefully we gather what we can to offer later in darkness, one body to another.